Welcome, everyone, to Ladder Daily Digest. We honor creators, and we are honoring all the creators that we can that are going to Sunstone. And today we have Ann Davis. She's presenting at Sunstone, and part of her title is Moving from Sin No More to No More Sin. Welcome, Ann.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So what day and what time is your presentation?
It is Friday, July 26th at 9 a.m.
9 a.m. sharp for the early birds.
That's right,
only.
because I start on time.
There you go. So actually, yeah, if you get there at 5 minutes till, she'll be setting up and you can ask her a question if you want.
Sounds good.
So let's see. Let's get to know you a little bit, and let's tell us about maybe a few minutes of your story and your first Sunstone experience and how that led you to presenting. This is your first presentation ever?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
That's pretty awesome. I might be 10 years away maybe from my first presentation. We'll see what happens.
So I was born into a very Mormon family. My grandfather was good friends with David O. McKay. Elder McKay at the time married my parents in the Salt Lake Temple. My grandfather was a mission president and a temple president, and I did the typical go to BYU.
Mm-hmm. So you were pioneer stock?
Oh, yes. My ancestors are from England and Denmark, and they came over after the handcart. They came over on trains, but yeah.
Okay, when the trains were built. And you grew up in Southern California.
Grew up in the Orange County area.
If you remember the LA Temple coming in, did you guys have any? It wasn't the thing that you would either remember or
we lived far enough south of the temple that it wasn't
like over an hour's drive probably.
Yeah. And I remember in Young Women one time being invited to go do baptisms for the dead. So it was in the background. My parents' activity kind of phased in and out. What I didn't know until 10 years ago was that my father got addicted to cigarettes in World War II and smoked on the sly. Didn't know that. And that made him...
he would go for a walk.
Yes.
And smoke on his... I think my grandpa on my mom's side did the same thing. And he would always smell a little bit, not like he was in a closed room, but he
I think that impacted his... I think that shame drove him to not keep a current temple recommend. And so I'm guessing my father's died a long time ago, so I can't ask him, but
that experience in yourself almost sort of leads to your presentation.
Right.
It's part of the generational trauma, we'll say.
That's right.
That could happen.
And the fact that my dad had to carry that shame for decades and didn't feel like he could come to his family and ask for support in quitting cigarettes, what a tragedy. So, no.
Yeah, there's a difference between guilt and shame.
Yes, there is. Guilt is I've done something bad. Shame is I am bad.
Right.
But I don't like either guilt or shame, so.
Right. Is there a softer word for guilt? I feel like I need improvement.
Well, I look at my life and I say, what I just did doesn't feel good. What can I do to change that so I am acting out of my higher self? So that's not a word. That's a whole phrase, but
yeah. So when was your first Sunstone that you attended?
I don't remember. I know we went to Sunstone when it was at the U of U, and living in Ogden, I'm thrilled it's going back to the U of U because, the one way down in Sandy is a further drive. But we attended the U of U at least twice.
And you moved to Ogden like 6 years ago or something?
No, we moved to Ogden in January 1st of 20.
Okay.
So we were in Southern California, and we would come up and visit people and go to Sunstone on the sly because no one could know.
That's right, because it's dangerous territory.
That's fringy Mormons go to Sunstone.
It's been, we'll say, shadow banned.
That's right.
Activity by the church.
That's right. It's definitely in the mainstream church's shadow realm.
Like only things sponsored by BYU, like women's conferences or something like that.
Education Week, right.
Education Week. Those are the only things that are approved
to
go to. And so you went a couple times maybe before COVID, made the long journey, visited family and friends. And do you remember roughly like how you felt
I felt joy. I felt liberated. I felt these are my people. I rejoiced in the ability to attend. I was hungry for the different workshops and presentations. We've tried to go, except for COVID, we've tried to go ever since.
Right.
So,
Having the same Sunday school lessons recycled every 4 years kind of makes you want more.
right. And currently I'm teaching primary, and I'm so happy to be in primary because that works for me much better than going to regular lessons. So,
That's right. And people are eager to hear what you have to say sometimes when
well,
they're not
I've got
misbehaving.
6 and 7-year-olds, and they're pretty squirrely, but
There
we're
you go.
good. We're good.
And so when did you first think of doing a presentation? Did somebody put that idea into your brain
Well,
or
interestingly enough, it was last year's Sunstone, and I wish I could remember the name of the woman presenting, but she talked about community and the need for community and connection with people with similar value systems.
Brittany
And
Hartley?
it could have been, I'm at an age where my memory,
Yeah.
kind of suspect.
I'm going to guess it was Brittany Hartley.
Yeah, could be. But I remember chatting with some women attending we happened to sit together. I didn't know them.
Mhm.
And they were saying, "Oh, it's really hard. I feel really lonely." And I thought, I've got a community of women. I'm in a women's empowerment group that we meet online every week, one day a week. And that really supplies a lot of my needs. And so I thought, I kind of want to tell people about my experience. And then I was in another session, and Dan Witherspoon was in as a spectator, a participant, not
Mhm.
presenting, and he talked about some language of shadow work just off the cuff. And I thought,
Mhm.
oh, other people know about this? Hmm. So
And
that kind of planted the seed.
you first heard of shadow work from who?
Well, I first heard of shadow work because I attended a session pre-COVID that was in Sunstone that was led by Phil McLemore,
Mhm.
and he blew me away. His talking points were so good. I was so hungry that I started to read everything he's written. I will talk a lot about what Phil has to say in my presentation on Friday. Um, and so I attended I searched him out. He was online. His main thrust is meditation can put us in touch with the divine, and it's by being in communion with the divine that we can transform and let go of the natural man ego. We can reclaim our true divine selves. Just white knuckling it by trying to obey the commandments and repent and stay on the covenant path doesn't transform us. Um, so he talks about the difference between a transactional God and a transformational God. Anyway, I really
Yeah.
poured myself into that whole meditation mindset. Um, it just didn't work for me. I went to Phil's second presentation post COVID when it was down. The Sunstone was down in Symposium was down in Sandy, and I asked him questions, and he said, your questions are still deep. Let's meet one on one. So I went out to his house. We talked. He gave me a lot of things to read. I really tried. It just didn't work. So here I am looking for a way to transform. I want a transformational relationship with divinity. And I feel like I was led to a concept that is shadow work.
Mhm.
So I have been doing shadow work. I went to an intensive weekend, a couple of intensive weekends. I think it was in late 2018. And the result was I was um, invited to join a women's empowerment circle. And every week is we are given the opportunity to do shadow work. So I have been doing that activity. So it's about 5 years now, because it was
Mm.
late 2018. It'll be 6 years this winter. So
Yeah. So you're not a scholar, but you
no,
have learned from this, and you're sharing it to see if it
right,
resonates with others that are looking for some additional
right,
way of connecting to
right.
either their inner selves or a divine or whatever it is.
Yeah,
My
your highest
understanding is
self.
that David O. McKay meditated. Now, I don't know how much of that was a part of him, whether he set aside, a half an hour and he said, or whatever, but I understand he recommended it to people as well. And about 4 years ago, I recommended to my aunt something about meditation or maybe a video about it or something like that. And she wouldn't watch it because she thought it was from Satan, because it wasn't prayer. It was sufficiently different from prayer. And so she couldn't understand that humans' experience has been a variety of things all throughout the world,
Hmm.
all throughout time, and different things are for different people.
Hmm.
And so, anyhow,
Well, what's interesting is as I kept attending this women's circle, then I was able to staff those intensive weekends that I had attended. And the more you are exposed to this world, I have learned to facilitate other people's shadow work. I have learned how to allow myself to be facilitated by others. Like, I never set goals at New Year's. I don't understand why I would wait for a certain day of the year to say I need to improve myself. I just look at my life, and when I see an area, I think I'm ready to tackle that part of me that's really holding me back in this one area. Then I will either go to my circle sisters and ask for facilitation, or I can learn through other women's work, shadow work. So yeah, it's a wonderful way to live. I don't we we will begin each session, each of our weekly sessions, with a check-in, and we'll talk about how we're doing physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And for emotions, I never check in with guilt or shame. I will check in with anger or sorrow or joy or fear. But for me personally, I haven't felt shame for years because I just don't go there. I don't see the value of it. So I have taken shame off of my list of things to experience.
right. So I know the Disney movie that came out a couple
Oh,
years
yeah.
ago, the Inside Out or
Uh-huh.
whatever,
Uh-huh.
and now they have a new one with
Uh-huh.
new brain characters. I think. I
Right.
don't know.
Yeah.
Have you seen the new movie?
I haven't yet. I want to.
Okay, I want to see it as well, because the first one talks about how anger is something that your body is telling you something needs to be addressed,
Right.
and so that's
Right.
we you know I remember saying like 15 years ago, Disney movies are scripture
Mm.
because they teach you a lesson and you feel good about stuff, right? Same thing that happens in a good lesson during Sunday,
Right. Right.
or
Well, if you
other
think
days.
about the early Disney movies, they were unrighteous traditions of the fathers because the heroines were weak. They needed to be
Right.
rescued by a man. And once they had found the one,
Happily
then
ever after.
never ever after. So I was immersed, being raised in the 60s. I was immersed in the Cinderella, Snow White, uh,
That's right. And you
all
lived
of that, Sleeping
underneath
Beauty.
the castle somewhere, right?
That's right. I was a stone's throw from the original Disneyland. So a big part of my shadow work has been to let go of this myth of my happiness depends on my husband. It's his job to make me happy. And I've had to learn to empower myself and take back that script and say, it's up to me. I am the one who controls my happiness and my unhappiness. I can work on those. Now, I have struggled with depression and anxiety, and that's a whole different ballgame. And I don't want to say that you can just choose to be happy. I hate those talks in sacrament meeting that say, it's all up to you and just choose to be happy. No, that's a lie. If you're in depression, anxiety, you may need medication. You need therapy for sure. And I'm
That's
all
right.
about therapy. And if you need medication, I'm all about that too.
If
But
you
I have,
chance to meet a frown, do not let it stay. Quickly turn it upside down
that is so
and
false.
smile that
No,
frown away.
I feel like the
What a horrible
universe,
lesson.
God, the universe, divinity, whatever you want to call it, our bodies are a gift, and we feel emotions in our bodies, and we learn to listen to those emotions. They're never wrong. It's never wrong to feel any emotion. That's never a sin. It's always, oh, something's going on. I need to pay attention to it, figure out what's going on, and then figure out what I need to do about this situation.
Right.
So if
And
I
so
feel
there
anger, I'm glad.
you obviously resonate more with the female life story, but you anticipate there's help for both. I mean, you
Oh,
learn from the
absolutely.
man.
Right,
Yeah.
right. As a matter of fact, my group has just started holding a weekend for men, and I was able to staff it, and it was a very powerful experience. So, yeah, there's absolutely programs for men too. And I was able to help facilitate some men and there's some, I happen to be in an all woman online group, but there are co-ed groups online too. And some people really thrive in that atmosphere. And I have attended a few of those and found them very beneficial. So I would have no problem working with a co-ed group or with men at all.
Right. Well, I can't wait to attend your session. I
Oh,
hope,
wonderful.
somebody famous isn't talking at the same time, but like you say, at 9 a.m.,
Yeah.
that you it's wide open probably for room for
Well,
everybody.
I've looked at the other sessions and I wish I could attend them. There's some fascinating ones being presented.
And most of them get recorded, and so we
Yeah.
can hear the audio. And
Hmm.
so that's one thing that can happen. But some are better than others. There was a magician a couple of years ago, and somebody else was thinking about attending. I think maybe Lindsay Henson Park was doing a presentation about
Uh-huh.
something, and I said, I'm betting that the audio version of Lindsay Henson's Parks will be better than the audio version of a magic show.
That's
Like,
true.
that's
You
right. We
kind of
should
need
go
the
see
video
the
on that one.
tricks. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I
so
am planning on asking for volunteers. If no one does, my husband has been voluntold to do a short 10-minute facilitation of someone choosing to do work on a shadow.
okay.
And that can get fairly intimate and vulnerable, and I may um, request that that not be recorded just for confidentiality's sake.
Oh, right. So whoever's doing the Sunstone recording thing,
I
that
may
you
ask them
need
to
to,
turn it off for that part. It
or
depends on
delete
who
it
volunteers
later if it
and
doesn't
how
happen.
they feel about being recorded. It'll totally be up to whoever
Okay.
chooses to do it
Yeah, that sounds good.
because confidentiality is a big deal in my world.
That's
We
right.
want
And
people to feel
consent.
safe. Yes, oh yeah.
Yes. Yes.
You only nobody does work unless they say, "I want to do work."
In a way, Sunstone is all about full disclosure and informed consent. If these things
Mhm.
are valuable in real estate and medical transactions, why not where eternity's involved, right?
That's right, that's right.
Thanks for coming on our show. Hope everyone can attend Sunstone, and maybe this will garner interest in the future for people who have never been. It's really a good time. There's really happy people. I mean, it is a very nice experience. I went first, and then my wife joined me the next year, and so far this will be our third year in a row. We look forward to it. So,
Great, hope to see you then.
all right. Thanks a lot. Everybody
Okay.
have a good rest of the week.